Why is life so difficult in Nigeria? You have your part, so you can always write down your notes, also questions and things like that. We'll deal with them much later on. This is Omoluabi leadership course. This is the most basic level that there is, and I'm hoping that you have what it takes to absorb what you need. Number one, why is life so difficult in Nigeria? Why is it that our youths have to struggle so hard for what some other people in other nations in different parts of the world take for granted? Number two, why is life so tough in Africa? If Africa has 65%, as it is said, of the minerals and raw materials that the world uses to enjoy itself, why then is life so tough in Africa? Another question we're going to look at is, why is it that things do not work? Why is it that things that work everywhere else here, service delivery, is practically nil? Why is it that things do not work? And we are now going to be able to now take you further as we want to begin to look at the answers to this. Like I said, some of these things you're going to have to go and fill the blanks yourself later on. Some of them I'm going to move past them quickly. Some of it are things that can take you 2.5, 3 years to even master. But until you have understanding, you can never be outstanding. Okay? So, to answer you quickly, Nigeria and Africa, I'm going to tell you point blank, is a product of what we call deterministic chaos. Everything is chaotic. Nothing works. It's like Nigeria, like most other African nations are just like that. And since you're students, you should be able to understand this. Watch that little video out there. And let me just use what we call a double rod pendulum to describe how chaos can be deterministic. If you keep your eyes on the screen, what you're looking at is a broken pendulum. That's the history of Nigeria from like the 1800s, 1880s, 1890s, 1900s, 1960. Can you see? As time increased, what is happening? Aha. Now, if you look at that chaos, what you are looking at looks like rubbish, scribbled by a child, not so? Ordinarily, people think that chaos is spontaneous. Chaos is something you cannot track. But do you know that if you have the ability and you have understanding, you will realize that the chaos you are looking at is being generated deliberately from a fixed point. And as it's increasing, it will swing to an extreme as if things want to go out of hand, and then it will swing back again. That's why Nigeria goes to the brink. That's all. That's okay. Nigeria gets to the brink many times and swings back again. Just when you think that things are going to collapse. Yet, you live inside the chaos. Now, if anybody told you that chaos you are looking at, that to solve that chaos, all you have to do is to straighten a pendulum, would you believe it's as easy as that? It's very difficult to believe if you live within that chaos. It's called deterministic chaos. Chaos that is deliberately generated. And that brings us to, it's a strong element in what we call failure engineering. Now let's talk about Nigeria quickly. Since 1914, Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa said this in 1948. Said since 1914, the British government has been trying to make Nigeria into one country. But the Nigerian people themselves are historically different in their backgrounds, in their religious beliefs and customs, and do not show themselves any signs of willingness to unite. Nigerian unity is only a British invention. Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, 1948. In 1964, Nnamdi Azikiwe said, "It is better for us and many admirers abroad that we, talking about Nigeria, should disintegrate in peace and not in pieces. Should the politicians fail to heed the warning, then I will venture the prediction that the experience of the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, will be a child's play if it ever comes to our turn to play such a tragic role." That was in 1964. Obafemi Awolowo, 1947, said Nigeria is not a nation. It's a mere geographical expression. The word Nigeria is merely a distinctive appellation to distinguish those who live within the boundaries of Nigeria from those who live in Cotonou and neighboring countries. That was in 1947. Now, the question you want to ask yourself is that if people from 1947, 1948 had this opinion, were they stupid people or were they people who were thinkers? Why would they make such statements in 1947? And then, by 1964, you see a perceptible shift in the opinion of Obafemi Awolowo. Obafemi Awolowo, having looked at what happened in 1964, by 1964 made a comment and said, it is incontestable, you can't argue about this, that the British not only made Nigeria, but also handed it to us whole on their surrender of power. But the Nigeria which they handed to us had in it the forces of its own disintegration. Centrifugal forces were packaged into the core and the foundation. He says it is up to contemporary Nigerian leaders, though he didn't say politicians, said leaders, to neutralize these forces, preserve the Nigerian inheritance, and make all our people free, forward-looking, and prosperous. He made that comment in 1964. If you look at your life today, you look at what is going on around you today, you ask your question, did anybody pay attention to what he said in 1964? All the forces within the core of the country that were built there to explode it, for whatever reason, did anybody neutralize it? Did any leadership take charge? And if they did, would life be the way it is for you today? Now, the truth of this is this. It's called failure engineering. Sometimes to put something together, not to succeed, but to fail. We will soon know the reasons why. And as long as generations continue to go on like that, the trickle-down effect affects you in your college, where you are. Don't think these things were things that some of those leaders did not recognize. They knew there was trouble ahead. One example, on the 7th of October 1960, at the United Nations General Assembly in New York, Nigeria's Prime Minister, Tafawa Balewa, said some things. I want you to just listen to a few of the words he spoke.
Just 1 week ago, as the clocks were striking midnight and Nigeria was on the threshold of independence, there was a brief ceremony at which the leaders of 3 different faiths each said a brief prayer. We then realized, all of us, that however much we might imagine ourselves to be responsible for the happy accession to independence, we realize that above all, there is a divine providence. And I do honestly believe that one primary essential to international friendship and cooperation is for each man to be true to his religious beliefs and to reaffirm the basic principles of his particular creed. It may be that then, when we hear the world crying out for peace, we may receive the inspiration to deal with these intractable problems and be able really to devote all our resources to the advancement of mankind.
Now,
applying those, it just 1 week ago, just 1 week ago.
Now, you are listening to the words of a statesman, a seasoned diplomat. These are the people who were there when the Nigerian foundation was being set. And if you don't listen carefully to his words, you will miss the importance of what he say. He pointed out that, look, a week ago, Nigeria became a nation. And what he was saying was corroborating what Omoluabi concluded later on in 1968. That right from the beginning, wise people knew that there's trouble ahead. They could see it. But he didn't say that there will be war. He's a diplomat. He won't talk like that. But if you are very careful, and you're the type who knows how to listen here, you'll have heard him talk about intractable problems. And when the world is calling out for peace. Why would the world be calling out for peace? Huh? Well, he knew. What they foresaw was what consumed him and killed him. So they knew. It's called failure engineering. It affects your life. It's going to affect your children. Except somebody does what Awolowo said, which is what? There must be a generation of leaders who have enough understanding to attend to all those devices that were packaged into the core of Nigeria. To the cutoff mark for somebody from Zamfara State to enter university today, and not for you from Osun State or your state or no state, is it the same? No. Now what you're just looking at is what is affecting you. These things have been there from the beginning. And these statesmen actually tried to address it, but the things they were noticing consumed them and have lived to make life miserable for many of us. What they don't realize is that this thing goes beyond religion. Let me give you a case study for Rwanda. I was in Rwanda a while back, and I realized that the people who engineered Nigeria also engineered Rwanda. In 1890, at a meeting in Brussels, there was no African at the table when Burundi Rwanda was packaged and given to the Germans. Von Gotzen was a German. He arrived in Rwanda for the first time in 1894 to claim his inheritance. But don't think he announced to the kings that he was here to collect his country. No. Based on a program that is written, he moved casually and collected the territory based on that program. But nobody remembers today that when he arrived in Rwanda, there were no divisions, there was no tribes, there was only one single language in Rwanda. There were no ethnic nationalities. It was Germans that created tribes. Tutsis and Hutus. And Twa, there are actually three. It was the Germans who divided them. They speak only one language. And there are no dialects like we have in the southwest. Only one language. When Germany lost the First World War, or when Germany lost the Second the World War, First World War, they lost a lot of territory. So Belgium took over what we know as Rwanda today. And for you to know that all these people know this thing, they understand it, they have it in their brain. Belgium continued from where Germany stopped. What did they do? They introduced ID cards in 1933. Now, how did they divide them into tribes originally by the Germans? Can anybody guess? Can anybody have any idea? Has anybody researched? Huh? How did they divide them into tribes? How did they create their tribes? No, because I have everything as a smart student. Yes, if you had 10 cows, you were a Tutsi. If you had less than 10 cows, you were a Hutu. So initially you could start out the year being a Hutu, prosper, and prosperity was measured by cows. Prosper, get many cows, and then become a Tutsi. Is that the tribal definition? Good. By 1933, when they introduced ID cards, you could no longer start the year as a Hutu and end up as a Tutsi. ID card now made it permanent. Just the way you know that, oh, somebody is from Ijebu, somebody is from Ondo, somebody is from Eba. The ID card came in and introduced into the mentality of the people a tribal identity that didn't exist when the Germans first came in. And of course, they started the divide and rule that they used in Nigeria as well. And by the time they got independence in 1962, go to the next slide. In 1962, they got independence, and the first president of Rwanda, you can guess, would he come from Tutsis or Hutus? Which side do you think he came from? Which side do you think was always more? The poorer side is always more. The Hutus. The Tutsis had been engineered to have privilege, and then they created enmity so that they can fight themselves always. So by the time democracy came in, the game of numbers, the Hutus gained an advantage. Now the first president, Gregoire Kayibanda, said the Hutus and Tutsis are two nations in a single state. Two nations between whom there is no intercourse and no sympathy, who are ignorant of each other's habits, thoughts, and feelings, as if they were dwellers of different zones or inhabitants of different planets. By 1962. By 1994, the animosity has so built up that in 100 days, within 100 days, 1.2 million Tutsis were slaughtered in 100 days. Dead bodies everywhere. Now, ask yourself a question. Till today, they speak the same language in Rwanda. In 1994, that slaughter filled Rwanda with blood and animosity. By 1996, Germans, Swedes, Belgians came back and declared that there was a genocide in Rwanda. Now, let me ask anybody here. Who really created the problem of Rwanda? The Germans. Do the Rwandans know that till today? They had been programmed. They have been engineered. Now, whatever you saw over there, don't think it's not available in Nigeria. It's the same engineers. It's the same program. The case of Rwanda, the animosities grew to a point, and then because the UNAMIA left, United Nations, the security forces left Rwanda and removed their hand completely. Once the programmer removes his hand completely, all those who have been taught to hate each other, who fight each other, they will escalate their fighting. In 100 days, do you know what it is to kill 1.2 million people? In 100 days? You think it's impossible in Nigeria? What Awolowo spoke about in 1968, as long as it remains unaddressed, it is still very possible in Nigeria. Now, let me show you the power of programming. In southern Nigeria, the citizens are drinking tea, munching biscuits, wearing stocking suits, coats, wigs, in tropical heat, speaking English in a greater quantum than what obtained in the days of human slavery and colonial bondage. Northern Nigeria, the citizens dress like Arabs, speak like Arabs, dream like Arabs, live like, speak like Arabs, even copy Arabs in burial rites. Yoked together, southern and northern Nigeria, we are yoked together with a colonial equation that can only be solved by algorithms. We'll explain that later. But you know what the interesting thing is?
In order to take over the territories from
hold
the
on.
company.
The issue is this. The people who program Nigeria, where are they now? Where did they go? Huh? Back to their country. So you will have thought that we'll start drinking more akamu in Oyo State. Once they go back to their country, then we think we should eat more akamu, akaroshu, and we'll eat more amala, right? Than us to be eating biscuits, drinking tea. Now, did we decrease? You will have thought that we'll go back to wearing more agbada, more dashiki, and so on and so forth. Did we go back to wearing more agbada? What do we continue to wear? Look around this table. Tell me, how much of the cloth worn on this table by anyone here was produced within Nigeria? What language do you use in school? So, how much of our own language is spoken on a daily basis in Nigeria? Now, what you are looking at is what is called the power of programming. The power of programming. And until black people understand the power of programming, life will continue to be wretched. The power of programming. You can program a people, leave them alone, go away, and tell somebody where you are. This is what they will be doing by now. You can tell somebody where you are that when they meet each other, this is how they are going to greet themselves. You can tell somebody that when they eat breakfast, this is what they are going to be eating. You can tell somebody and say, look, when they want to get married, this is how they are going to be doing their marriages. You can predict what they're going to be doing because you put in a program to control their lives long after you have gone. Now, let's look at the difference between perception and reality. Why did the British do all these things? Yes. Why did they do this? Go on, play the...
The British government paid £865,000, a huge amount in 1900. So let's establish a simple truth. The British didn't travel halfway across the world just to spread democracy. Nigeria started off as a business deal for them between a company and a government.
Nigeria is part of West Africa. It covers an area of over 339,000 square miles, nearly as big as France and Italy put together. Its population comprised half the people of all the United Kingdom dependencies. It is a land of many tribes and many languages, a land of differing views and differing people.
Now listen. Get part 2 ready. Now, if somebody pays £865,000 to buy most of what is Nigeria, you bought it in the year 1900. You paid for it. By 1960, they said they want independence. Who is going to return the money you paid in the year 1900? If you are a businessman, are you going to just pack your load and go and say, oh, this was a bad investment, after you paid almost £1 billion in the year 1900? You see, when you are dealing with people who are smarter than you and wiser than you, they will control your lives forever. Now, these are the things that leadership must understand. Like the man said, they didn't come all the way because they like you. They bought most of what is Nigeria today for £865,000 and some small change in the year 1900. And then they amalgamated by 1914. Not so?
Yes.
By 1960, we agitated. We said, get out, we don't want you here, and all that. They said, okay, we are going. Now, do you think you will just go like that? Now, if you have the knowledge and understanding on certain things about leadership, you can prepare a program, put it into that place, and continue to make your money off them until you are satisfied that your almost £1 billion that you spent in the year 1900, you have made enough on it. Then you can calm down. Who do you think is paying for all these things today? You are the ones. These are programs that were put into place even before you were born. Not so, but does that stop them from working? So the solution to this thing is that there must be a level of leadership that understands enough to create a future for your children. So what is leadership? Leadership is the capacity. I'm borrowing this definition from a friend of mine. Somebody is late today. Is Miles Monroe is his name. Leadership is the capacity to influence others. All of you sitting around this table, you are in positions of leadership right now, not so? What you're going to have to do now is to begin to measure your leadership with these standards of good leadership. Leadership is the capacity to influence others through inspiration, motivated by passion, that is generated by vision, which is produced by a conviction, ignited by purpose. That's an Omoluabi definition from Miles Monroe. Are you listening? Good. So what is leadership? Leadership is very interesting. It's one of those things that there's no standard accepted definition for what leadership is. But the interesting thing about leadership is that everybody knows what leadership is not when they see it. They may not know how to define it, but when they don't see it, they know that, look, this is not leadership. Okay? Now, but what makes leadership very important is this. It is said that an army of sheep led by a lion will defeat an army of lions led by a sheep. Isn't that interesting? What they have recognized in leadership is that, look, leadership affects followership. Leadership determines direction. Leadership initiates and manages change. Leadership galvanizes action. Leadership builds consensus. Leadership produces vision that attracts provisions. Leadership motivates and builds commitments. So go back. Huh? Yes, let's go back. People are still writing. You see, leadership is extremely important. In the days of the Greek philosophers, they believed that leadership was a product of nature. That if you are born into a high-class family, leadership will come to you naturally. What you don't know is that some of their thoughts and their philosophies is still affecting you and I till today. That's why it is believed that if you are black, leadership, you cannot be a good leader, but if you are white, you can be a good leader. Because they believe that leadership comes from nature, not nurture. Some people argue and say, no, you can produce. Everybody comes here, you don't know anything when you are born. So all this charisma and these things that you're talking about, anybody can become a leader. Now, for us in the Omoluabi, we are going to be able to tell you how the way we see leadership in reality. But it's actually a combination of both nature and nurture. And that's why you find out that you may call yourself a leader right now in your institution where you are, but there are certain things that will help us to know whether you are indeed a leader in your days or not. Right? So what's the character of good leaders? Good leaders influence people through inspiration rather than manipulation. If you look at the history of Nigeria, you can begin to sort out the leadership straight away. Through inspiration rather than what? Manipulation. Good leadership does not employ but deploys people by pushing them towards their destiny. As I'm sitting on this table, there could be future Senate leaders sitting on this table with us here right now. And the person will only get there because there will be people who can spot that you have a leadership potential. The governor of Osun State used to be in Polytechnic, in Poly here. Fawashe used to be there. Now, many people you see who are in positions of authority also attended the same school just as you. Today, many of them are in leadership positions. Some are good leaders, some are bad leaders. History will judge. It's not the people who will judge. But how do you know? While you are about it, a good leader is not looking for people to punish, to put their head under, to just, deceive them and just mess up their lives and escape before they can detect you. A leader can see potential in people. I'm looking at some of you who in the years ahead, decades ahead, you'll be in tables in Brussels. You'll be on tables in Geneva. You'll be in the United Arab Emirates, in Dubai. You'll be there at tables doing what? Providing leadership on behalf of those who have trusted you. But between now and that time, your leadership potential has to be what?
Developed and strengthened. Leadership determines direction. Once leadership does nothing, nothing is happening. Let me tell you something about change. Change is inevitable. The most certain prophecy in life is that change will come. Whether anybody says it or not, change will come. But change left to itself is often destructive. So what leadership does is to provide direction and learn the dynamics of how to manage change in a way that it becomes profitable. What do leaders have that makes them distinct? You see, reality can be terrible. If you look at today, right now, do you know why most leaders in Nigeria are having problems? When you look at what is on ground, resources on ground, what is available today, the reality is very discouraging. I spoke to one of the governors some time ago, and we sat down and analyzed that how can Nigerians not understand that what Nigeria earns on a monthly basis cannot sponsor everybody in Nigeria. If there are 180 million plus people, how much is coming in? How much are we sharing? So why would you not see a leader who is grabbing what he can grab quickly when he knows that this cannot be enough? But true leadership will always have vision. Sight is very common, but vision is rare. Vision, without vision you cannot be a leader. What does vision do? It takes you out of today and takes you into tomorrow. What you see in tomorrow is good. What you see in tomorrow is a solution to today. Is somebody listening to what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So when you see that vision, the people outside and around you cannot see the vision. It's the leader that sees the vision. So it is now your duty as a leader to go and see tomorrow, see day after tomorrow, see what can be possible out of this situation. Cocoa House we are in right now, first floor Cocoa House, we deliberately located this office here. Cocoa House that you're seeing today was inside the mind of one small Ijebu boy many decades ago. Cocoa House was inside the mind of Obafemi Awolowo. One person. But the Cocoa House, he could see inside his heart, there will be no building here today if he did not have leadership skills. I hope you know that. Now, where we are sitting at today right now is a testimony of what leadership can provide. Go back. So you can influence people through inspiration rather than manipulation. You don't just employ people. You look at their future. You look at what they can do. Look at how far they can go. Without vision, there's no leadership. Everybody can see sight is coming. Vision is rare. Sight is limited, but vision sees a future that is possible. Leaders see things beyond what they are into what they can be. By the time I talk to some of you here right now, in a short while I can pick up your leadership potentials and I'll be able to say, my God, if this person receives some more understanding, in a short while, this will be an international, this will be somebody who will be used to the international life. And I will be able to spot some things and listen to some of you and say, oh my God, if this person continues like this, the leadership will end the experience in the temple. We should not be. Because once you have tasted good leadership, you should be able to develop your leadership skills and make sure that through life, you will always recognize as a good leader. So good leadership will produce a legacy. If you notice well, in Africa here, leaders hardly ever produce successors. Right now, a lot of leadership in Nigeria is a matter of cult membership. No, at least people. I've been doing meetings in universities for years and polytechnics for years. I have some of the young men with me who probably would be dead today if I did not come to their lives. Because I see them there, I say, let us even start with Professor Omoluabi, who started, what do you call it? Pioneers Confraternity in Belgium. And I say to them, what half of you don't even understand is that in leadership, you better understand that there are things spiritual, there are things temporal. And that from the first day one, that Omoluabi had his meeting behind Tedder Hall. What year was that? The famous 7. The famous 7. Never before a confraternity came, never before Black Axe, never before Buka, never before any other confraternity came. From the first meeting they had, they did not do the initiation in civilization. They do for a forest. And I'm not going to mention what they are, but there are 7 elements that are spiritual. So when the famous 7 went in there, what they planted was a seed. Any man that is spiritual will tell you that in the next 30 years, this thing will start producing bloodshed. Anybody will tell you. And I always tell them, I said, look, you had a friend before you came to university, you were a friend before, you all came with each other. You now entered the university and the program entered you. Change your behavior. And the next thing, you kill somebody that you grew up and played football together. And I asked them, so why did you kill? I have a lot of people who were 56 who were very strong in all these court arrangements before. And I asked them, so what exactly did you get? And I said, well, sir, they can't take your girlfriend. I said, did you end up marrying them? So you killed 4 people because of the day you were not even married. Okay, did you get land in the university when you finished killing them? No, they didn't give you any land. I remember one pathetic case of one boy who was hung upside down and then they cut the rope. His skull crashed into him. His parents didn't even know he was in the report. It's a program. The person who wrote the original program knew that the discipline in the program will go, but the spiritual elements will remain, and we will yield bloodshed. So when I keep asking them, I said, look, the energy with which we should be fighting the real problem, you are using it to kill one another. To what avail? What did you get? People are killing. People who are doing the real, look, let me give you an example. Tobacco companies kill more people every year than cancer. Not so. Tobacco kills more people than road accidents. But do you know what they get out of it? Money. Estates. If you look at their lifestyle, their jets and everything, they know that we are killing people. And they go into governments, they lobby, they make sure you don't ban cigarettes, they make sure that people will, they will give you free cigarettes when you are 16, 17. Their studies have told them that if you don't smoke by the time you are 18, 19, you are not likely to smoke again in your life. So they kill people, but they know what they're getting out of it. But when our young African young men turn against each other, I'm asking, so exactly what do we get out of this? So you see, influence, not through manipulation. What your politician planted then, one of them at least, one understood spiritual things, that is what we call manipulation. The harvest has now come, the blood is flowing. Okay? But the people who planted the seed there, are they anywhere inside? The rituals for joining the initiation, has it changed? What they planted to the young people who come in, has it changed? If they don't get help, I can predict for the rest of their lives. So be careful about leadership and make sure that you have a legacy. Because a legacy that harvests death without bringing anything to anybody's life is a useless leadership. Now, a leader that has no successor is not a leader at all. The day you become a leader is the day you start training people. So that after you are gone, what you are doing must not stop. Okay? So let's go on. Are you getting anything?
Yes, sir.
Good. Let's go to the next slide. Now, since leadership is so important, if you want to destroy a nation, go back please. Since leadership is so important, if you want to destroy a nation, go back. If you want to destroy a nation, destroy its leadership. Now get ready, because I'm going to begin to show you the lives of your parents and your own lives, and what will be your children's lives if you don't understand these things. I am praying that at least 1, 2, 3, 5 out of you will become prominent leaders in the future. Now, the destiny of nations can be destroyed by the corruption of its leadership. And you can do that by corrupting the leadership selection program. All of you who are here as leaders right now, did you not go through a selection program in the Polytechnic to become a leader? Now, are you the one who determined that selection program? Now, do you mean you don't know now that whoever crafted the selection program has affected your life? And the only reason why you are there as a leader is because the person created a selection program that allows you to become a leader. Have you thought into that level? Now, the process of leadership selection can be adjusted so that manipulation rather than inspiration becomes acceptable. Just look at Nigerian politics today. You see, the installation of successive leaders by manipulation will divert people from their destinies. By encouraging visionless leadership platforms, nations can be compromised and wicked. Let's go. Now look at how we can compromise leadership.
A group of scientists placed 5 monkeys in a cage and in the middle a ladder with bananas on top. Every time a monkey went up the ladder, the scientists soaked the rest of the monkeys with cold water. After a while, every time a monkey went up the ladder, the others beat up the one on the ladder. After some time, no monkey dared go up the ladder, regardless of the temptation. Scientists then decided to substitute one of the monkeys. The first thing this new monkey did was go up the ladder. Immediately, the other monkeys beat him up. After several beatings, the new member learned not to climb the ladder, even though he never knew why. A second monkey was substituted, and the same occurred. The first monkey participated on the beating for the second monkey. The replacements repeated until what was left was a group of 5 monkeys that, even though never received a cold shower, continued to beat up any monkey who attempted to climb the ladder. If you asked the new group of monkeys why the beatings took place, the answer would probably be,
well, I don't know. That's just how things are done around here.
Thank you. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound familiar? So, what am I trying to point out to you? There are people who understand programming. And when the program leadership, the leadership selection process can be compromised to ensure that the leadership that will always emerge will be a leadership that can never make compromise. And once that goes on and they keep succeeding, I'll show you something. What do you need to know to be able to do these kind of things? I'm going to teach you some secrets. And I'm going to pray that nobody is going to use these things negatively. Because if you do, it will be terrible. Some of the knowledge you're going to be getting, good Lord, is dangerous. It's leadership knowledge. To program group leaders, there's something we call transmarginal inhibition. TMI. TMI is an organism's response to overwhelming stress, e.g. torture. You study a group, you must know how to break their spirit if you want to put negative leadership into place. That's why you put stress on them. You put stress on them. They will find out their breaking point, and then you use that knowledge to reproduce broken people and a broken nation. You're going to go and do all these things later, go and find out what is neural association. How do you teach people things? How do people recognize things and associate it? How do they make their decisions? How do you manipulate how they learn and what they learn? There are people who have recited these things for hundreds of years while Africa was sleeping. In fact, what we call enslavement techniques. Now, don't forget that this program is used in the army, is used even to make a doctor out of a civilian. You program a person to become a medical doctor. An ordinary person sees blood and he panics. Sees an emergency and panics. Does the doctor panic? Now, to transit from being somebody who panics to becoming somebody who is cool and professional when you face accident victims, there's a programming that must work. So programming is used positively all over the place many times. But it also has a negative use. And you must understand both the positive and negative to be able to know how to recognize it. And then use good leadership to create a future for people around you. Now, enslavement techniques from slavery days, you actually can use terror to break the spirit of a person. Completely. That's why some of us will understand Boko Haram very well. If you want to take over a whole nation using only a few people, use the instrument of terror. Magnify the terror in their minds. Why do you think newspapers must report when you cut somebody to two? You're happy when they show it on TV. Because the people watching it become terrorized. It hasn't yet happened to them, but by neural association in their brains, the fear of fear is more powerful than fear. You know that pain is bad, but the fear of pain is worse than pain. You can use fear of pain to control a person. Look, every human being is designed to be motivated by pain or by pleasure. And what leadership understands is how to balance pain and pleasure. The promise of pleasure is the reason why some people will wait for 3 hours to enter a cinema hall to watch Black Panther. Not so. Is it not anticipation of pleasure? Tell the same person to wait for 3 hours for something else. Will he answer you? So why will he wait patiently for 3 hours to watch Black Panther? The person is anticipating what? Pleasure. So the anticipation of the pleasure is more powerful than pleasure. So the anticipation of pain is more powerful than pain. Leaders understand all these things. And that's why we are where we are as Africans today. The Fulani strategy is like that. How many are the Fulani herdsmen in Nigeria? 8-point-something million. How many of them? How many is Nigerians? 180 million. But the whole of Nigeria are not shaking. How do 8-point-something million vac? How do 300,000 people engineer a nation in such a way that the whole nation is shaking? And all the shaking is created by maybe 200,000 or 60,000. This is very possible. Let's go to the next slide. I want to show you something that will surprise you. Now, let me show you how Nigeria's leadership was provided. In the year 1900, as British government paid almost £1 billion to buy most of what is Nigeria. In the year 1900. While they were doing that, immediately what was the first thing that started? Who knows the meaning of WAFF? W-A-F-F. Leaders must be readers, so you have to be ready to interrogate these things. They created in the year 1900 the West African Frontier Force, out of which the Nigerian Army came. That's the parent of the Nigerian Army. West African Frontier Force. And they began to recruit people and train them for the armies of the emerging nations that would emerge this out. That was the parent body of the Nigerian Army. Remember the Burma War? Your father will probably tell you about that. Okay? Now, amalgamation came in 1914. That's North and South put together. And you saw the engineering that put them together. And then we got the independence in 1960. If we get the independence in 1960 and we have good leadership and we continue with good leadership, how does the colonial nation make its money back?
Soldiers are so programmed that you'll be programmed from the idle civilian that you are. The programming that will come upon you must be tough. You must lose your personality. You must obey the word of command. You must not be allowed to think long. You must think in short terms. Why? Don't break the chain of command. Then, because your job entails taking of lives, if you hesitate before you take a life, can you be a good soldier? So you must be programmed to devalue human worth. You must be programmed to do what? Devalue human worth. So that's why sometimes when you see a soldier brutalizing a civilian, in fact, most countries you don't allow soldiers to live with civilians. That's why you normally give them their what? Barracks. Because he's trained to kill. He's trained to use the instrument of what? Terror. Legitimately. Right? So, you took Nigerian boys, trained them, then after you've shortened their attention span, make sure they obey the word of command, make sure that the chain of command is successful. What's the next thing you think you must do? You select among them officer material, which is leadership material. But you select them based on what you want to do. Then you take them out to officer training colleges like Sandhurst and Aldershot, where most of our people were trained because of the British colonies. But if you are francophone, you will have gone to France to another. Now, when you get there, they're not going to teach you economy. They're not going to teach you diplomacy. They're not going to teach you finances. What is the why do you think you are taken out there? You're going there to go and learn certain things to increase your efficiency as a military officer. And then one of the things you're going to learn is a concept you have never heard of in your life before. Who can guess what that concept is? Coup d'etat. You go and learn how to wage a coup. And by the time they finish programming you with all this knowledge, will you be allowed to stay back in Britain?
No.
Are you going to practice your coup knowledge in Britain? What happens to you? They plant you back in your country. And your officers who handled you, you are still in touch with them. Remember, you can't listen for more than 5 minutes. There's average general. Anything you want to go and discuss with an army general, make your point within 3 or 4 minutes. Because within 5 minutes, they switch off. And they must take decision on what they have heard in 5 minutes. That's what training does to you. That's why I say, morning, sir, in midnight. Now, let me now show you something about how you can now create a leadership for a country using this methodology. Let's go to the next slide. Just listen carefully. This was an interview.
Can you please give me an account of the night of the coup in Kabul? Well, it's rather something like the longest day. We started this off on the night of the 13th of January, when a night exercise was planned by the military college, which I command. We took our ships to the ground and told them not to unite the camp. We didn't tell them what we were planning for, but at the end of the exercise, we took them out and told them where this area is time, and let's remain the left. Next day, we went out again to the same kind of exercise.
Listen carefully.
And at the end, we issued them with ammunition, lab ammunition, and told them that they would go back to the same place as they went there today, but this time they will get 7 people. You know what it was? Oh, of course it is. No, not about that. We just found all the things stuff. Well, no, we didn't see him up in the time. We actually shot him. We ran away from his house when we fired the first 2 shots of anti-tank gun into the building. The whole roof was blown up and the place was shot alive. Then we went to the rear of the house and started searching from room to room until we found among the women and children hiding themselves. So we took the women and children and took them.
Now, what do you relate to this General Grant in Lagos?
Well, it's very good. He's our boss. What is under him.
Thank you. Who is that? Who is that fellow? What was he describing there was how he killed Sardauna. Until 1966, Nigeria has never seen bloodshed on that level before. So when you want to change the leadership of a nation, Kaduna grew up in the palace. Although it was really a Delta Igbo, but he spoke fluent Hausa. At his right hand was Hassan Usman Katsina, who was with him throughout the coup he was executing. They spoke the same language, military language. So today, they are twisting the Nigerian coup around. It was a military affair. Okay? And did you hear the way he was talking about how we looked for him, we got him, he was hiding among the women, and then when we got him, then how we killed him? Did you see the cold, casual way of saying it? The people who trained him, they knew that these people, sooner or later, when they signal them, are going to do these kind of things. So what did they do? Nigeria had never seen bloodshed on that level before. It broke the spirit of Nigeria. And when you break the spirit of a place, you can now take over their lives. Now, let me ask you a question. Are military officers capable of ruling nations effectively? What prepares a military officer to rule a nation? Does he know anything about the economy? IT? Can he operate a smartphone? Does he understand hydroponia in agriculture? Does he understand diplomacy? No, please keep it civil here. Now, what I'm trying to get you across to is this: why do you think Nigeria was ruled? If you look in Nigeria history and look back, who have been most of the rulers in Nigeria? Military, in uniform and retired. Who do you think programmed the leadership selection process? That most of the leaders of Nigeria are either military or ex-military. I'm not hearing you. You don't know it, but they conditioned the country to be susceptible to what? Military rulership, which is winner take all, survival of the fittest, ambush, reconnaissance, and military tactics. So inside the picture, inside the mind of the average Nigerian today, passed from parent to parent, is somebody who says with immediate alacrity, with immediate effect, and somebody who comes and says, hey, what's going on there? And then backs commands. Is that the kind of leadership a nation needs to move forward? No. Is that the kind of leadership that France has? Is that the kind of leadership that has moved European nations forward? Is that the kind of leadership in Dubai? Now, the leadership selection process has put into place a people who are not trained to lead modern nations. So do you think Nigeria will ever make it until we change the leadership model? Now what you don't know is this: the rogue leadership provided by introducing soldiers as leaders is like, you want to construct this building now, then you look at all the professionals, you now call the electrician, you go and teach him how to electrocute people. Then they come back, electrocute the architect, electrocute the engineer, electrocute the structural engineer, the surveyor, and anybody say, anybody else? Will anybody argue? No. Now, if it takes over the supervision of a skyscraper, after some years, how will the project be? Will it be a successful skyscraper? Huh? Will the project be successful?
Not at all.
How will it be successful? When electrician is supervising architects, electrician is supervising. Now, why do you think somebody like Obafemi Awolowo will work for a man like Yakubu Gowon? Who is better leader, Yakubu Gowon or Obafemi Awolowo? But Awolowo was happy as a leader. Who should lead who? No. Go back into that era and go and count so many men. And Azikiwe, so many people who served under military leaders. Under normal circumstances, what can make those kind of stature of men to surrender to small boys who came out from academy? His program. Oh, you want us to push it further? I was in a meeting with Dr. Christopher Kolade. He's not going to like what I'm saying here to you. How many of you know Dr. Christopher Kolade? Good Lord. People don't know Dr. Christopher Kolade. Different generation. Glory. Anyway, I was talking to Dr. Kennedy. He used to be the High Commissioner to Britain. He was also the chairman of Cadbury. But I talking about the leaders of industry. He was a broadcaster. They were the people who established WNTV, WNBS, or what? No, the federal one. Not the Western Nigeria now, but the federal equivalent. He's an ace broadcaster, well respected. He's called Mr. Integrity in Nigeria. Yes, he's Mr. Integrity. Now, Dr. Christopher Kolade served under Obasanjo. Obasanjo was his leader in a country. If you profile Obasanjo and you profile Dr. Kolade, now how many of you know Obasanjo? Now, do you see how powerful programming is? Hello? Do you see how powerful programming is? Today, younger generations here, you know an Obasanjo, but you don't know an Edwin Clark, you don't know Dr. Christopher Kolade, you don't know people who could have led Nigeria profitably. But you know people who are programmed to lead Nigeria by those who program them knowing that they cannot lead. So, did it affect your lives? Yes. It's still affecting our lives today. Now, it's not only Nigeria. General Mobutu did his own coup in 1960, Congo Kinshasa. Then Congo Kinshasa in 1963. Togo, Olympio was killed. August 1963, Congo Brazzaville, government was overthrown. Dahomey, 1963. Colonel Soglo struck in Algeria, 1965. Bembela was overthrown by Colonel Boumediene. October 65, Burundi monarchy was deposed by James Bendel Bokassa, Central African Republic in 1966. In Nigeria, January coup, Cardinal Nzogo leading the majors, the military struck. From that time onwards, the average African country has been led by military leadership for at least 30 to 40 years. The people who designed it used them to slow down the progress of the nations for 30 to 40 years. And having programmed the nations, you'll find out now that most leaders will either be ex-military, retired, exchange the khaki, wear civilian clothes, and come back and lead again. Please, what is in the training of all the leaders, of these military leaders, that qualifies them to lead a nation like Nigeria? What did they study that qualifies them to lead a nation the size of Nigeria? Hello? Good. So let's go on. I hope you are getting some things out of this. What I'm showing you will soon be coming down. But remember, I said to you, we're not just preparing you for Polytechnic. Now listen to this.
Comes to Nigeria will be the rivalry between the western and the eastern regions.
This is Chief Omoluabi, who is the leader of the western region of Nigeria, which has just celebrated its self-government, not complete independence, but self-government within the Federation of Nigeria. Now, Chief Omoluabi's title here is Premier, to distinguish him from the federal Prime Minister. Can you tell us how much self-government you now have in West?
As you know, as the federal constitution, under the constitution, certain matters like defense, foreign affairs, ports and railways, and exclusive federal subjects. All other matters which are not declared exclusive federal subjects are exclusive subjects over which we have authority. In regard to those subjects, we are completely self-governing now.
Are you in Western Nigeria content to remain part of the greater Nigeria, or do you hope one day for completely?
Indeed, we are content to remain part of the Federation of Nigeria. We have no intention at all of separating connection to this great country.
Okay, thank you.
Are beginning to think of them.
Now, did you see how the British press came to interview them? Who trained... Go back, please. Who trained the army officers? Which nation trained them? Who sent the journalists? Look, when you want to program a nation, it is 360 degrees. You use everything to program it. Even the questions they are asking them there. Say, when you get independence, how are the Yorubas and the Igbos going to cope? What people don't know is this. I had a meeting with the Igbo leaders and the Yoruba leaders some months ago, and I did a presentation for them. Some of the things you see, handshake across in Nigeria, are results of those meetings. You know what I had to show them? Your enmities are engineered. Nigeria was designed for the Yorubas and Igbos to fight themselves, and for the Middle Belt to be friend with the Hausa and the Fulani. For instance, if I ask you today, what is the meaning of Hausa Fulani? It doesn't mean, it's like saying British American. It has no meaning. So when you see Yorubas say, Omo Igbo, Laila, Yamuri, and you see an Igbo say, Kai, this Ngbati people, what you don't realize is that you are not the one who wrote the script. You are programmed to fight one another. Do you know the interesting thing? The Yorubas and the Igbos have more in common than what separates them. But most of you sit down here, you have already been indoctrinated. If you are Igbo, you look at the Yoruba with suspicion. If you are Yoruba, you look at the Igbo with suspicion. What you don't know is that the people who programmed that is for a purpose. So even though the original people who started it have gone a long time ago, you are still following that purpose. And as long as you are fulfilling that purpose, will your children prosper? It will be very difficult. Okay, let's go forward. Now, what we now show you now on the next slide, you will now find out that it's not only Nigeria.
The forces arrayed against us are, and I use the word most carefully.
That's Nkrumah of Ghana. Go on.
They are intense and powerful. They are, as I've taken some pain to explain, the forces of imperialism acting through their instruments, new colonialism and colonialism.
It's all right. Thank you. Go through all the African countries, one by one, all the leaders who could have led well, who were trained to at least put some leadership, were overthrown by coups. The ones that were not overthrown by coups had already been pre-packaged to fail. So the coups were just what they call insurance measures, just in case anybody does well. You have to stop them from doing well. Because if a black person leads a black nation and they do well, they will begin to have ideas that they too are people. Nkrumah, Jomo Kenyatta, Milton Obote, Hastings Banda, Hufe Boyin, Kenneth Kaunda, Julius Nyerere, Gregoire Kayibanda, who recognizes any of those names? These are all leaders in African nations. Let me tell you something. All of them started well. Most of them end up. Why does that happen? I will show you why. Next slide. Most of them didn't know. They were set up to become leaders. Only a few escaped. And you are going to see why we are teaching you the Omoluabi leadership skills now. They were programmed to fail. Leopold Senghor said something. He said, our ambition was to become photographic negatives. I don't have phones in here. No phones. If your phone goes on, I will expel you from this meeting. Our ambition was to become photographic negatives of the colonizers. We wanted to become black-skinned Frenchmen. It went even further, for we would have blushed, if we could have blushed about our black skin, our frizzled hair, our flat noses, above all, the values of our traditional civilization. Our people secretly caused us shame. Who was this? The person who became the first president of Senegal and ruled for 20 years. What he didn't know was that they primed him, prepared him, packaged you, but before they even package you to put you as president, they put inferiority inside you. So if the leader has inferiority complex, what happens to the country? I'm not hearing all of you. What happens to the country? Now, you may laugh at him when he says they made us ashamed of our black sin and all that and all that. But when programs work, the generations that come after do not even know the reason why they are doing what they are doing. Let us look at the culture of wigs for women now. If a woman plaits her hair, sangas, you may not know that style, shuku, the Asian traditional styles. If a lady brings that kind of hair to Polytechnic today, will you think she's beautiful? All the young men will look and say, what kind of ugly, where did they bring this one from? Not so. Today, do you know how much the wig industry is? for black people. All over the world, we import white people's hair to look fashionable. But do you know it didn't start with you? If you ask your parents or your grandparents, they will tell you about one comb like this that they used to put in fire. Aha! It was a straightening comb to do what? Because they made us to be ashamed of our hair. So when you put that comb inside your hair, who has ever used the one they call conch? There's one they call conch. Who has ever heard about conch before? Before palming came, there was one we call conch. That one is chemicals. They will just put it in your hair, you just sit here, just make sha like this. They made us ashamed of our nature of our hair, our broad noses, our lips, the way we look. So why do you think bleaching cream sells all over the world today? Not only also, anywhere colonized, everybody wants to be lighter in color. Why? You want to be like the person who colonized you. Why? Because they have to break your spirit and make sure that you know that you are inferior. So when a president is inferior inside his mind, if you want to do business in Nigeria, you want to do well, just bring in a gate man, a white man. Go to London and bring a gate man. And go to big places that you want to see the MD of a bank or whoever. Just let the white man sit next to you. You brought him, or you are the one who paid for his air ticket. He's a gate man. Want me to tell you something? Within 3-4 minutes, you'll be in the MD's office. Who will they be greeting first? Who paid his ticket? What is the white man's job? But you paid the ticket, bought suit for him, and brought him so that you can see the MD. Why? Because the MD who you are seeing feels inferior to a white man. All of us who are here right now, we have been programmed like that. You may not know it. It will come out sooner or later. Now when you see a white person, what do? You differ. Okay, let's move forward. So you see how they program leadership now. You see how it is possible. Okay, let's go on. I want to show you that when you program leadership, the effect goes on for many generations. How old was General Yakubu Gowon when he became the head of state of Nigeria? He was age 32. He was already in positions of leadership by age 26, 27, 28. Chukwemeka Ojukwu was 33 years when he became a warlord, but he had begun to carry authority from age 26, 27. Murtala Muhammad was 37 years when he became president. Anthony Enahoro, when he moved the Great Motion in the House, how old was he? 27 years old. M.T. Umbu was 25 years old. He became an ambassador at age 26. Anybody here 25, 26? Good. Dieter Spieth became a governor when he was 24 years old. Obemudia was 35 years old. How old is the president of France? Macron. Good. Now, all these people who are 32 years old, how old is the average Nigerian leader today? So when you say leader in Nigeria, does your mind go to a young person? So you agree that the programming is working? So good. We're going to take a short break after this one before we come for the next one. I mean, just for you to eat your groundnuts and but you're going to be doing a homework during the short break. I want you to drop a list of 5 potential people you know in Nigeria that you are sure that can be genuine leaders who can help to change this country. People who have what it takes to lead us as a nation. Leaders that can give us fresh vision. Leaders that can deliver the nation using what they have, not what we don't have. Leaders who have the right skill sets to transform Nigeria. Leaders who have not compromised, who say have what it takes. Now that's your homework. I am going to be doing it quickly. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to be asking for your list. Drop a list of 5 people that you know that can lead this nation very well. So it starts now. You have 5 minutes. This is the time for you to eat groundnuts, do whatever you're going to do. Yes, we are on recess, but it's not a recess for play. It's a recess for work. Draw up your list. Now the truth is this: if Africa will ever make it, if Nigeria wants to make it, if any state is going to make it, there's something that African leaders don't understand at all today that you have to understand. And that is what we call the secret and the power of programming. And I'm about to give you what it is right now. So make sure you understand this very well, or else you will see why Nigeria is where it is. The secret and the power of programming. Anywhere you see consistencies, interactivities, interdependencies, intricate design, rhythmic motion, beauty, aesthetic values, where you see where form follows function, what you are looking at is most likely a program. Most likely a program. And if you want to understand programming, the best way to understand programming is to look at creation, God himself. Now, I'm not interested in whether you go to church or mosque right now. When I say God, I mean God in his office as creator. That's the first office in which everybody knows God. Now, you notice programming in everything that God does, practically. God doesn't wake up every morning running around to try and get things done. Inside everybody, you have what they call the alimentary canal. No matter how different your height is here, there's a program by which we are able to eat. And it's the same program for everybody. When you put food in your mouth, bless you. When you put food in your mouth, or carry water, it goes through the same system in everybody. Whether you are black or white or green or yellow outside. Inside you, you must have this program. Now, you see a skeleton there. Without that skeleton, all the dancing that you use like dancing, your body will just be falling to the ground. That skeleton was designed and programmed to hold your frame. And if we want to show you how powerful programming is, you will realize that even your lungs, your heart, your lungs taking air, then it goes in there, it's like a factory. It utilizes oxygen and expels what? Carbon dioxide. Who designed it like that? Now, trees take in air and they use carbon dioxide. And what do they expel? Do you think it's by chance? Now, look at the intricate design of yourself, your life. God is a programmer. He designed all these things to work one with another. Intricate design. Your body, your skeleton. I'm going to even show you something now about programming for you to know how much of a programmer God is. And I'm going to ask, I forgot your name. Let me remember your name. Shekoni, please stand up and go to the front of the screen. Now, everybody watch this. For you to know how much programming goes on, I want you to appreciate programming today, because whatever you're going to go back to your school to do and in your life afterwards, never forget this lesson. Few leaders get to hear this, but this is the real secret of leadership. Raise up your right hand, sir, and let your right hand go in a clockwise motion. Clockwise. Just circles in a clockwise motion. Is that clockwise? Is that his own clockwise? Okay, good. Now raise your right leg at the same time. Let your hand continue clockwise motion. Let your leg join the clockwise motion. Also clockwise. Right? It's going that so. Okay, stop. Put your leg down. Put your hand clockwise motion. Let it be going clockwise. Raise that same leg again, anti-clockwise this time. Please, you can be seated. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, what you don't realize is that the person who programmed the human body programmed it to work so that this side of your body works in synchronization. That's why you find out that it's very difficult to be letting your hand go clockwise and then your leg goes anti-clockwise. For you to do that, you must reprogram the program that is running your body. Now, what does that tell you? A programmer can predict your response to anything. It's a programmer that decides the limitations. It's a programmer that decides your latitude. That's why nobody argues, no matter your religion, that the first office in which we meet God is the office of God as what? The Creator. Because the whole of creation is a program. The human body, your brain alone, scientists try to calculate that if they were to build a processor and get some processors to work like the human brain, the problem of processors has always been overheating, how to cool them. They found out that to make one, the kind of thing your brain does, all the water in Uwa cannot cool it. By the time any processor does the work your brain does, there is no known way by which it can be cooled. So when you see God in his office as creator alone, it's enough for you to salute at the details. The human eye, the way it sees. Do you know this your hand now? If you want to carry an egg, there's a way your hand carries the egg. You won't break it. You want to carry cement block. Do you know that all those things, your brain, your programming, adjusts them automatically? You don't even think about it. But the program in you is already kicking out. So one of the things we have realized is that there is a program in creation. And one thing that all programmers have, which God gave to man, that he didn't give to goat, he didn't give to beasts, he didn't give to others. The secret of program is called architecture of thought. Everything starts with a thought. Everything starts with an idea. So the ability to have an idea, the ability to put the idea together, to arrange it until it becomes a product in your heart, is not a small ability at all. And I'm telling you that for all programmers, when we get anywhere, if you embrace what we call architecture of thought, which is how do people think, you can use their products to know how they think. If you look at the Milky Way, the solar system, for those of you who have been studying humanities and geography, planet Earth is suspended at a distance from the sun. And scientists say that if you're able to push planet Earth and push it in towards the sun by a few feet, what will happen? It will burn. If you push it outwards by a few feet, what will happen? It will freeze over. So what suspends the Earth at the right distance that it doesn't burn, it does not freeze for thousands of years? Don't you think that that engineer, that programmer, has architecture of thought? All those is Mercury, Mars, Venus, they are all going about their orbits. Do they collide with each other? No. Now, God is a master architect. He thinks before he does anything. And anybody who wants to provide leadership must understand this. That's why if you go anywhere, look at that slippers now. What can you tell about the architecture of thought of the person who produced this shoe? Is it advanced or primitive? Huh? Answer now. Can you compare it to the kind of thinking that has gone into the universe to make the earth, the sun, the stars, the moon, your human body, your skeleton, your all over? Listen, if you are going to be a human being, one of the first things you must know is that you must have architecture of thought. The amount of thinking behind that stove, the first one, and the second one, which one did you think more before you produce it?
The first one.
How many people think it's the second one that you think more before you produce it? Can you see that road network? How much thinking goes into it to produce it? Now let me tell you something. A test. This is part of the second homework that you're going to go and do when we finish this one. When you get back to campus tonight, you're going to go and do the architecture of thought test for the campus. Any country I enter, let me tell you one of the first things I do. I like them to drive me around. In some countries, there is no separation of traffic going and traffic coming. Everybody just follows where they like. In some countries, there's no separation of lanes, even for those going and those coming. In some countries, there's no demarcation for where trailer is passing, bicycle, motorcycle, no separation. In some countries, no speed limits. In some countries, no road signs. In some countries, this one is the one that I even know that once I see this one in particular, I just know that this is a primitive society. No gutter. Do you know what it takes to produce a road? How much thinking you must do first? You think it through, solving the problems. You think it through, solving. This is what leadership does. This is what real leadership is. You have the ability to look at things as they are and see what they could be. Then you say, but if we do it like this problem will develop. So why don't we do it like this? Why don't we do it like this? Because when rain comes, if we don't put gutter, erosion will come. And what happens to all the work you did? If you erode the road. Now, whether it's Uganda, Rwanda, Kenya, anywhere I go in Africa, especially, within 5 minutes, you can conduct the test of architecture of thought. And within a few minutes, let me tell you this. Where the architecture of thought points to a primitive civilization, you can bet that the value of life is cheap. Behind genuine leadership, there is compassion. This is what drives your vision. You've looked at people suffering. You've looked at what's going on. You've seen what is how can we solve this problem? How was this problem created? How can we get ahead? So, but if we do this, no, they will just react like this. If we do this, then this will happen. So what happens if we do this? Now, someone who doesn't remember that it's going to rain and is building a road, he's not thinking. He's not thinking like a man. He's thinking like a beast. Look at God when He created the world for us. He could have created the world in black and white, but He created it in color. Not so? Have you seen lawn, grass, birds, everything? If you go to a house where you see that they have lawns, they have flowers, it tells you something about the people living there. And they carefully maintain the flowers. You go to a house where the door is about 5 and the good signboard there, mind your head. When you get to any building where the staircase, one step is larger than the next one, then one is smaller than the next one, it says something about the thinking of the people. I don't know if you're getting what I'm saying here. It's called architecture of thought. You can pick anybody up anywhere, apply the test of architecture of thought, pick a civilization up, a town, a city, anywhere. Once you apply architecture of thought, you can locate how much thinking goes on there. Food processing. Why do some people think, if we spend all this time making pounded yam, we like eating it, but why can't we powderize it? Let's check that if we make it a paste and we mix it, we can get the same ductility and it will arrive at the same pounded yam texture that you like. And we never have to carry the butter and the pestle at all. Now, the person who created the pounding machine, was it created by us? Huh? Who has been eating the pounded yam? Huh? Now, what does that tell you about us? This is what determines success. It's very low. Now let me ask you a question. The way elephant drinks water 2,000 years ago and now, has it changed? No. So when you want to separate men from beasts, the greatest instrument you use is the architecture of thought. If you see people who are doing things the same way they have always been doing it, Spending energy, expending energy, doing these things over and over the same way, and this thing is not energy efficient, it's very wasteful, it's onerous. You are dealing with the people who don't really have much value for life. Now, between a supermarket or a store where you have somebody who's waiting to open the gate for everybody one by one, and the one that you approach the door and the door opens by itself, which one is doing more thinking? Which product has more thinking behind it? You see, you may not understand this, but in a lot of, if you've done a bit of foreign travel, very few nations have gate men anymore. Because they think a whole human being. How can you carry a whole human being to stand on one point? And what he does from morning till night? You are here, sir. Open the gate. Or worse still, a stick with a weight on the other side. And then he will release the rope. And he will go home at night and he believes he has spent a day of his life working usefully. Do you think that is a life well spent?
No.
Now, what you don't know is that these things I'm telling you here right now, when you go and conduct this test on your campus, you have to be very strong not to break down into tears. But this is the story of our lives. The architecture of thought we have is so poor. There are some people who used to think, oh, why are they shouting? They don't need to shout. Let's create something called microphone. So they did. But the microphone had a cable, which meant that you can't go further than 3 meters. Now some people say, why must we be limited? Small thing, they brought out wireless microphone. The question I want to ask you is this. One of my sons, not the eldest, is graduating with 2 degrees in a few weeks from now. He's attending Yale in the United States of America. We were in Rwanda together one day. And when we were there, my son said, Daddy, can you, he would like us to go to the mountain, to the top of the mountain. As an African man, I said, for what? He said, there are gorillas there. I would like to see the gorilla. How many of you, if you travel to Rwanda, want to go and see gorilla? I don't know. Anybody here want to see gorilla? Do you know? I almost told my son that, look, we Africans, we don't do things like this. We don't go and look at gorilla. Then I caught myself. Then I realized that because he was American born, he had been in school for many, many years in America, in secondary school and everything. Then I realized that, wait a minute. The way my son is thinking is different from the way I'm thinking. So why don't I want to see gorilla? Now what you don't know is this. Let me tell you something. There's something called the refinement of life. Refined things of life. We are programmed by the African experience not to appreciate the finer things of life. How many women love flowers in Polytechnic? Oh, please. Wait. The Creator, when he made flowers, the beauty of flowers. You see, a person that cannot appreciate the beauty of flowers, that cannot appreciate refinement. Look, one day somebody was talking about starting a society for the protection of grass cutters, to prevent them from going into extinction, to protect grass cutters. And I say, Aaron, Benny, now, why would you want to protect? You see, a beast, when he sees some things, he says it's food. A refined person will say it's good. A whale, I was watching a documentary one day, a big whale washed up in one country. They brought water, they washed the whale, they kept it, and then were begging the government to throw the whale back to the ocean. One whale, I don't know where he got the visa from, went and landed in Bar Beach one day, some years ago. People first ran away. You know what they call the whale? They said Olokun has come. Then the children who have been reading books said, no, this is called whale. They said, I said, what's this way? He said, it's a fish. He said, fish? Within 24 hours, the whale's eyes were still open and closed. It was still alive when people began to cut it. And everybody was quickly. Why? Food. You see, a study was carried out by an ancient philosopher. What separates beast from man are the things I'm telling you. So when you see a man who spent his whole life removing a gate up and down and he thinks he has done something useful, it's because nobody has value for his life. Hello? Now let's go on into the more negative programming. Let me just show you a few things before we conclude on this one.
In Brown versus Board of Education, the famous case of desegregated schools in the 1950s, Dr. Kenneth Clark conducted a doll test with black children. He asked them to choose between a black doll and a white doll. In most instances, the majority of the children preferred the white doll. I decided to reconduct this test with Dr. Clark to see how we progressed in study. Can you show me the doll that you like best or that you like to play with? And can you show me the doll that is the nice doll? And why is that the nice doll? And can you show me the doll that looks bad? And why does that look bad? Because it's black. That's a nice doll. Because she is white. And can you give me the doll that looks like you?
Okay, now listen. Brown versus Board of Education was a very celebrated case in the United States of America because they went to court to ask that they should desegregate education. Up until that time, life in America was such that whites go to one toilet, blacks use your own toilet. Whites go to their own school, blacks go to their own school. And they said, no, but it's okay. It's segregation. I mean, you are no longer slaves, so why are you grumbling? Then Professor Clark and his wife, who was also a professor, conducted this black doll, white doll test on children. Now, did you see what happened when they said, which one is ugly? Which doll did the boy point to? They said, which one looks like you? Did you see how reluctantly? Now, the truth is this. By the time you can get that to happen to children, it means there's a quiet programming going on that you can't detect it. It's subtle. It's invisible. It's generational. It's difficult to detect. But it will put inferiority inside you where you don't even know that it is inside you. Hello? So they were able to win that case because they were able to prove that the education system you have produces inferior children who already are ashamed of their own skin color. When they said, which doll looks like, the hand almost went to the white doll and realized that I'm not white. Then very reluctantly, the hand now pushed the black one. If we know the depths of this happening to a child, you have broken the spirit of that child already. You have destroyed the child's soul. Nothing can come out of the life of that child. Send them to school from now to kingdom come. You destroy that child by the time they are age 7, age 8. You have put limitations inside their mind that it will be difficult for them to ever break it. So if you think the power of programming is something cheap, all African Americans, you see what they did? They programmed them. And what you have just seen, the programming that was used in America has about 7 or 8 elements. This is just one out of it. And this is a program they've been using since 1712. Since 1712. So when people say, these African Americans, they're not useful. They're not. Has anybody, just like Awolowo said, has anybody addressed the program? And let me show you how they put this program together sometimes. Then you can detect the one happening to you in your own lives. Let's look what Otabenga. Go. It was put on display in the zoo to demonstrate that black people are not yet men. About 40,000 per day, with monkeys, orangutans, apes.
Believe it or not, 40,000 people a day to see this exhibition.
It's okay, that's enough. Now, do you think these zoological exhibitions, up until, this was in 1906, up until 1930 something, they were still having zoological exhibitions all over Europe with black people put in cages next to monkeys. Well, about 40,000 people go and visit that every day. They throw bananas. Go back to Otabenga. In his own case, do you see how they sharpened his teeth? They now filed his teeth so he looks like a cannibal. Now, why were they doing this? You think it was because of Otabenga? No. They were educating their children. So when children come to the zoo, people come to the zoo, anywhere you see a black man, neural association. These people are not yet developed. These people are monkeys and goats. They are near each other. Science too was ganging up against us. Law, what they call that? What is the name? Evolution. Theory of evolution. They said Africans developed from not just gorillas. That we have power, but our brain is like peanut. That white people, Europeans, developed from monkeys. That monkeys are very clever. So what you don't know is that even in your school right now, I'm sure they're still teaching evolution. Darwin's theory of evolution. Because they are programmed to teach it. So what you need to understand is that breaking a program is not an easy thing. If you can't outthink the people who set the program, you will be a part of that program till you die. He committed suicide at the end of the day. But what they were doing is that all over Europe, in Stockholm, Sweden, France, everything. So as you begin to travel around the world, when you see the children of white people looking at you and suspecting that you are an ape, that you are not useful, don't blame them. They too are programmed. So even science, even literature, even biology. Go to the next slide. Let me show you something. If you read the Encyclopedia Britannica in 1798, oh, I want to know about the world. So you went to read Encyclopedia Britannica, 1798. The Negro, Homo pelli nigra. Somebody read.
A name given to a variety of the human species who are entirely black and are found especially in that part of Africa which lies within the tropics.
How are you? Go on.
In the complexion of Negroes, we met with various shades, but they of the white differ far from other men. Round cheeks.
Be checking yourself.
Eye cheeks. Bones. A forehead without somewhat elevated. A short, broad, flat nose, thick lips.
Check.
Small ears, ugliness, and irregularity of shape characterize their external appearance.
Go on.
The Negro women have the lines greatly depressed and very large buttocks, which give the back and the shape a saddle.
Go on. Somebody else continue.
Vice by most notorious will be the portion of this
unhappy ways, idleness, treachery, revenge, beauty, impudence, stealing, lying, inequality, debauchery, nastiness, and intemperance, are said to have extinguished the principle of natural law, and to have the proofs of conscience. They are strangers to every sentiment of compassion, and are an awful example of the corruption of man when left to himself.
Now, do you see that not only you here in Ibadan, here in Lagos, Ghana, all over Africa, for years, 1798, ever before you meet a black man, this is what you have read about somebody before you meet him, what will your impression be when you finally meet the person? Now, what we're saying is this: how many people here have your junior brother, anybody you know, who says, I can design a better phone than this? The next phone that will come out, I have an idea. I think I'm going to design something better than this. How many Africans think in this kind of levels? Do you think it is just coincidental that we don't think into this kind of levels? Somebody somewhere has already organized and engineered you and programmed you. You are on this table right now, you're already above 21, the average person here. And you know what the truth is? The capacity God gave your brain to work in, somebody has already programmed you. You can't even go near it again. And if you think it's only those children who are the inferiority, all the men here, all the young women here too, you have your own degree of it already. But it hides so deep. And as long as you are living among yourself, it doesn't even come out much. Travel out into communities where there are more Caucasians, or that they call white anyway, or go to the Arab world, and then you'll be shocked. Now, what am I trying to point out to you? The people ruling your polytechnic were trained by people who think like this. So your parents' generation too have been programmed. Next, to create a slave, man by nature is not a slave. But in 1712, I think, 1791, that one says, there's a man called William Lynch. He was called in America to Virginia to teach them how to break a man and turn him into a slave permanently. He gave them 6 instructions, and he said, my method is simple. Any member of your family or your overseer can use it. Black slaves, after receiving this instruction, will carry on and will become self-refueling, self-generating for hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years. Let me tell you something. What has been applied in Nigeria normally lasts for about 650 years. The inferiority that was left behind when the colonials left, when you are programmed like that, it usually goes on for at least 650 years. You don't need a white person around anymore. You'll be teaching it to your children, not knowing you are teaching your children like that. So all the products of your hand look more like products from beasts than from mankind. Next. Henry Berry, go back. Virginia House of Delegates, 1832, said, we have as far as possible, this is an American example, we close every avenue by which light may enter their mind. If we could extinguish their capacity to see the light, our work will be complete. Then they will be on the same level with what? Beasts in the field, and we will be safe. I'm not certain we won't do it. If we'll find the process, and that on the plea of necessity. They found the process and they did it. Next. W.E.B. Du Bois was the first African American to have a PhD degree in America. He couldn't continue living in America. Once he became educated and he began to become more enlightened, he died in Ghana. I went to his house in Ghana where he used to live. He left America with a PhD from Harvard. He could now see that, my God, look at who we are. And he wrote a book called The Souls of Black Folks. He wrote the book in 1903. You should still read the book. It's still available to you today. And somewhere in the book he said, look, there's a sincere and passionate belief that somewhere between men and cattle, between man and beast, God created a tertium quid and called it a Negro. That's African now. A clownish, simple creature, at times even lovable within its limitations, but strictly foreordained to walk within the veil and foot of ignorance. What is a tertium quid? An indefinite, undefined thought thing related to two definite and no things, between man and cow. So it's neither man, neither is it cow. This is how they look at us internationally. Miseducation of the Negro was a book written by Woodson G. Carter. The education you are receiving in Polytechnic is not preparing you for life as a citizen of the world. You can only bring out your education from Polytechnic and think you are educated within the Nigerian context and the African context. The same thing goes for UI. The same thing goes for all the universities you are seeing. This person, Woodson Carter, was the second one to get a PhD, second African American to get a PhD in Harvard. By the time he went to Mali, went around the whole world, he looked at the educational system, look at, like I just said now, are they not still teaching us evolution theory? A theory that says that we came from gorillas. That your father is a gorilla. And we are teaching it. And we are still teaching it. So many of the people, as they began to become educated, many of them were frustrated. But the interesting thing is that 1,000 almost years after, many of us are still totally unconcerned. The program is still working. It worked in America, it's working in Nigeria, it's working in Africa. Next. In South Africa, one young man started thinking. Have you ever heard his name before? Aluta. Stephen Biko. They killed him. He started thinking. The last thing they wanted in those days was to see any African that is thinking. Because beasts are not supposed to think. He says, I'm going to be me as I am. And you can't beat me or jail me or even kill me. You can beat me, jail me, or even kill me. But I'm not going to be what you want me to be. I'm not going to be a Tashom Quid. I'm not going to be a semi-beast. He said, the most potent weapon of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. We have set out on a quest of true humanity, and so on the distant horizon, we see the glittering prize. Let us march forth with courage and determination, drawing strength from our common plight and our brotherhood and sisterhood. In time, we shall be in a position to bestow upon South Africa the greatest gift possible, a more human face. South African police killed him in 1977. He was 30 years old. The ideas coming out of him, they knew, will destroy apartheid. So they were able to manage Mandela, but they couldn't afford to let this one live. He was thinking like a white man as far as they were concerned. You know what this guy said? He said, this thing is not about white or black. Please, how many people have ever seen a white man before? Put up your hand if you know you have ever seen a white man. No, I'm serious. Have you ever seen a white man before? Some of you may not have come beyond your village. Let me say, have you ever seen a white man before? How many have seen a white man before? Huh? You've never seen a white man before? Have you ever seen a white man before? Huh? Now, let's tell ourselves the truth. If the color on that screen is white, if that color that we're looking at is white on that screen, how many people have ever seen any white man before? There's no white man. There's no white man. If you study philosophy, in the terms of the Greeks, the color white for people was invented not quite 2,000 years ago. Before that, there was no white men or black men. There was no such thing. It was invented to create inferiority in those called black and superiority in those called white. I hope you see how powerful programming is. Let's go. Stephen Biko was 30 years old. He decoded it. Now, we're all enjoying Dubai. We think it's only Americans and all those people. You don't know anything yet. That man wrote a book. His Royal Highness Maktoum, the leader of Dubai. And they started this book. He wrote, you see what amazes me, that this is the first thing he wrote in the book when he started. He said, with each new day in Africa, a gazelle wakes up knowing he must outrun the fastest lion or perish. At the same time, a lion stares and stretches, knowing he must outrun the fastest gazelle or starve. It is no different for the human race. Whether you consider yourself a gazelle or lion, you simply have to run faster than others to survive. You know what this guy was saying? He was using diplomacy to talk. The people of the Emirati don't see themselves as the gazelle. They see themselves as the what? The lion. It's Africa that is the gazelle. Next slide, let me show you. In the book, Arabs quote a lot from one philosopher in ancient times who influenced the Arabs a lot. Was one guy called Ibn Khaldun. Ibn Khaldun in his days said, look, the vanquished are always fond of imitating the conqueror's motto, attire, creed, and other positions and customs. That's Ibn Khaldun. The one they quoted is the one I just read. Let me tell you what Ibn Khaldun said that they did not quote inside the book. He said, therefore, the Negro nation Who is that? Are as a rule submissive to slavery. They have little that is human and have attributes that are quite similar to those of dumb animals. They are only humans who are closer to dumb animals than to rational beings. They live in thickets and caves and eat herbs and unprepared grain. They frequently eat each other. They cannot be considered. So when an Arab looks at you, do you think he's really looking at you as a human being? Go on. Next. So what is the verdict? Poverty levels in Africa continue to increase. Between 1981 and 2002, the number of people living in poverty nearly doubled. A UN report in 2007 predicted that by 2015, Sub-Saharan Africa will account for almost 1/3 of the world poverty, up from 1/5 in 1990. Although Africa possesses enormous mineral wealth, its entire economic output is less than 2% of the world GDP. The whole of Africa's world share in world trade and investment is similarly minimal, less than 2%. Actually, now it's about 2.5%. Now, go to the next slide and stop there. Now, listen to this. This way, let's talk. What they're saying here now is that if you take all the millionaires, billionaires in Nigeria, in Ghana, South Africa, in 54 African nations, all are wealthy people, wealthy companies. Pack all of them together, add them together. 54 countries of Africa and 10 dependent territories that form Africa. All we are producing is less than 3% of the finances in the world. Corruption in Nigeria is not a financial crime. Corruption is a culture. It's a product of a program. You are here to graduate. You are going to hit the job market. The architecture of thought of Nigeria, is it creating jobs for you?
No.
You are going to come out and struggle for Nigeria's portion in that less than 3%. So the truth is this, except there's magic. Before you have graduated, if I count the number of people on this table, I can tell you the number who will get employment and the number who will never get employment. Can leaders see all these kind of things and continue like this? So, homework number 2. You will report this on tomorrow. We will do the homework number 1 now. Go back to campus and apply architecture of thoughts to your institution. Look around you. Look at your hostels. Look at your cafeteria. Look at your roads, your lawns, your water supply, and everything. Apply architecture of thought, assuming we are thinking as men, not as beasts or ape. Will things be like this? Now, the second question we're going to be answering tomorrow is, why was Obafemi Awolowo exempt from that failure engineering? Why was he able to build Cocoa House? Are you hearing me? Why was he able to commission WNTV, WNBS in 1958 for an African country to have a television station ahead of European countries? Why was he able to start Wema Board Estate in 1962, Liberty Stadium 1960, Wema Bank 1945, Western House, High Rise in 1960, Cocoa House? Where are we now? Cocoa House. Cocoa House in 1965, Premier Hotel 1966, Cocoa Industries 1967. Let me tell you something. By the time Obafemi Awolowo left the governance of Western region, we had about $16 trillion. None of us, if we look at $16 trillion 1965 and look at 2018, none of your children's students should be even looking for a job. Food should not be an issue by this time. But the writers of the program, they saw that, well, this one seemed to be escaping, so they had a response. Your generation has to reply them back. Hello? But let me tell you the truth. If your leadership cannot start replying from campus level to insist that you are not beasts but human beings, not by being aggressive like a goat, because they called somebody a dog, then he replied by biting you. That is a dog. So don't let the conditioning. It's not, do you know that even the way we protest, even the way we do everything, is all according to program? Oh, we don't know that. As leaders, we are going to have to find creative ways of establishing issues. We are going to be dealing with all those things tomorrow. How to look at your environment and think like human beings, like leaders. To be able to spot the things that you don't want. So, some of you, if you can get the book Miseducation of the Negro, written by Woodson G. Carter, by the time you read it, you look at your curriculum in school and ask yourself, how does this prepare you for life? How are you going to get a job from this one? And if we continue the same thing that people before you have been doing, where are your children going? You know what I find amusing? Some people struggle and say, hey, if I can only get this money. You know, if you look at all the money they are struggling for, that is ready to kill his brother for, you will just shake your head. So that's what you do. So this is your value. Do you know that if you sit down, you have architecture of thought, what you can put together, what you can create, and what your financial reward will be. Obafemi Awolowo's children can never be poor. He made us rich. We threw away the wealth. We are going to get it back. Now, when we enter into the Omoluabi leadership secrets, you will see why Obafemi Awolowo was able to put up a building like this, completed in 1965. How old was he? How old are you now? Did he have two heads? By the time we start on it tomorrow, I will show you how Oduduwa did the same thing in the 7th, 8th century. And how many people with the Omoluabi programming have been able to get results. So why do we denigrate it, absorb programs that are not working for us, and punish our children's children? What life is ahead of you if you continue the way you are going? Because part of what they program us to do is to behave like animals. If you see 20 goats today and somebody kill 5 for Salah, do the 15 remaining have a meeting to ask where the other 5 left? Right? We have been reduced to a life of beasts. I feel so sad. Everywhere I go, I look at young people, I ask them questions. Many have graduated for 6-7 years, who are doing many jobs all over the whole place. We ask one, say he did nuclear physics. What is he doing? He's serving food in a restaurant. And I'm looking, I say, how long? He said, I've been doing this for 7 years. So what of you who have not even graduated yet? How many of you know you can make a difference? It's just what? How old was Dieter Spieth when he became a governor? 26. 25 or 26. How old was M.T. Ibu when he became a federal minister? 26. Who told you that you don't have the potential in you two here right now to be a foreign minister now? Who closed your brains? Who shut you down? Who branded you, programmed you, and has already taken away the rest of your life, even though you don't even know it yet? So how do we get it back? And how do we help others to get it back? These are the things we'll be looking at tomorrow.